And tonight in Big 12 basketball, Oklahoma State plays at Kansas State. And last night, KU won at Iowa State. But a lot of atmosphere and attention on that game in Lubbock. My God, Texas Tech beat Texas and all of what went with it. And we're joined by Chris Lovell, part of the Texas Tech radio broadcast crew, color analyst, who joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Chris, have you ever been through anything like that?
No. I didn't know what to expect, but I'm not sure many people have. I mean, I don't know really anything in sports. I mean, we've been trying to think of examples of just like coaches going back or teams playing each other that would have created an interesting layer of emotion. I just really can't think of anything. So it was very fresh, and you know how people, react to the University of Texas. And I think Texas, it's a compliment to them. They embrace that, but it elicits a certain kind of emotion. But you have a guy here that people bought into and embraced, and it was all just very fresh and in your face. And we didn't. It was a circus. I mean, it was a circus. But I thought the crowd was unbelievable last night and absolutely affected the game.
What is it about the team that enabled them not to hyperventilate on the fact that, oh my God, look at this crowd?
Yeah, I mean, I think for both coaches, you have to try to tell your kids to control their heart rate a little bit, and it's easier said than done because I'm sure I'm not alone, but I would guess a lot of people left that building last night just absolutely exhausted, mentally, physically, everything, whether you played or not. And I think Mark just his message to his guys, really leading up to it, was just. It's just a game, one game in the conference race. We've got to treat it like that. And this is an old, mature team. And I think what probably did help in some aspects for both coaches is that there's a lot of guys that are new to this deal. They don't have any background to Chris Beard or Mark Adams or the Texas Tech deal or any of that stuff. They don't. They weren't worried about that. They're just trying to win a conference championship or trying to win a home game in the league race. But. I mean, 5 minutes in, there were guys on the floor that were like totally exhausted already, and that's because I mean, it was a circus an hour before the ball went in the air for tip. I mean, and so it's if you don't watch it, yeah, you can zap out quick.
Stating the obvious a little bit, but just how important was it to get a win, regardless if that had been Texas or TCU or whoever, just in terms of the Big 12 race, remaining a game and a half back, whereas you could have been 2.5 games back if you lose that game, and then the double whammy of, it coming at the expense of Chris Beard in Texas, which would have been hard to swallow.
Well, yeah, that's what also was another layer to making that game such a big one last night is because it was meaningful. I mean, both teams are ranked. Both teams were neck and neck in the standings, and whoever lost that game is looking up at the other one in the standings. I mean, that was just another layer to kind of check that box on what made it such a big deal. And yeah, all the pressure is on the home teams in these league games, but that's just the bottom line because that's the recipe. You better win them at home. And you better go steal a few on the road. And that's what Kansas has always done. It's what Baylor has been doing recently. I mean, that's just been the recipe. And yeah, there was an enormous amount of pressure on Mark and those kids. It was mostly unfair for that game last night, and Mark even used the word responsibility after it was over. Like, we had a responsibility. And that's a lot for a first year coach because that's all he's heard about since he took the job was that game. And I think it was relief that he was able to give that to the fan base last night.
Chris, I'm not trying to get you to involved in this part, but I do. Was there anything to some of the angst or maybe confrontation the night before that was being reported by some between those two at a practice or a shoot around?
It was that. I think it's all semantics on how it's phrased, but they had a conversation. I was not there. I've talked to about 7 people or so that were close by. I think there was, I think that the way Mark kind of described it was probably best last night. I think Chris really felt like maybe Mark could have done more to squash the animosity. Maybe that was there, and present. And so that was kind of the gist of it, but there's no exchange or altercation or whatever. I mean, it was just tense. I mean, this was an emotional, like raw event. Nobody knew how to act. I wasn't sure. I've known Chris Beard for 20-something years, and he's been great to me. I know all the guys on this staff that were all here, and I've been in through those wars with those guys. When you're part of the broadcast, you travel around with them. But again, so that's why people have reacted the way that they have. It was just very raw and fresh, but there was no, like, quote unquote confrontation, in my opinion. I think that's an interesting phrasing that whoever reported that.
I will say this about Chris Beard asking, like, thinking he didn't do enough. That's kind of like saying, like, hey, you've got a fire hose to put out the fire, but the fire's the thing that's going to help you win the game. Well, he's not gonna do that. Like, there was just no way. It's kind of a weird ask to me.
Well, and again, I wasn't there, but I think Mark was in an impossible situation with the whole thing. If he doesn't want to go out there and tell the fans to calm down, if anything, but he also, that's what's different about Mark and Chris too, to a certain extent, is Mark is solely focused on his team and just basketball stuff. Chris was involved in so much more out here with the fan base and the students and marketing and tickets, I mean, all this stuff. And so, but that's just kind of who each guy is, but yeah, that's, again, it was very dicey no matter what. It's an impossible line to try to walk if you're on either side of that deal. But I don't think Mark was in the wrong for not coming out and going, please calm down or don't be crazy, the next night or whatever.
Do you think, and obviously the win makes it even easier and more special, but do you feel like, Chris, that it's almost a relief that game is over?
1,000%. I can tell you for 100% fact, there's a lot of people on both sides of that deal last night that are glad that that's in the rearview mirror. It's been, the iceberg was going to hit the boat. We all knew it. We didn't know, you didn't know how either team was going to be, but everybody was just waiting. Everybody's being asked about it. People are writing about it. You've got, national writers that have been embedded kind of there and here, building up to this. And I think that it was just a lot. I mean, there's 5,000 people hanging out in the field, camping out, like right below the field, right below the arena, like 2 days before this game. I mean, it was a carnival, and it's just a lot. I mean, everybody was worried. Is something crazy going to happen? How much security do we have? Do we have enough? Okay, what if we don't play well? What if we do play? I mean, it's just a lot. And so I think, I would echo that. I'm sure everybody's thrilled that thing's over with.
Based on what was going on leading up to the game and the night before and some of the videos, and I know I saw you with videos of all the people there, are you thrilled that it was just a great atmosphere last night? Nothing silly, nothing nuts, nothing bad happened other than a basketball game and a huge crowd of 15,300?
Yeah, I think you can't always say this about, and some of the reputation up here is well earned. But I think last night, I think last night, everybody was concerned about, how it was going to be portrayed but I think that Tech and Lubbock or whatever, they put their best foot forward. I mean, it was just really, and there was some language. Okay. It's college sports. I mean, I don't know if anybody's offended by that or not. There was clearly some language directed towards the UT team and everything. And, so if you had young kids in the stands, you're probably not too cool about that. But other than that, it wasn't, they weren't arresting anybody. I mean, nobody threw anything. It was just a jacked up, very, they blew the roof off of that thing. Like every basket in the second half, it felt like it was a game winner. That's how loud it was. I'm sitting there right next to the Tech bench, talking to my broadcast partner, Jeff Haxton. Half the time we can't hear each other, and we're right next to each other with a headset and a microphone on, and I can't hear what he's saying. That's how loud it was. But I mean, that's just how much it meant to everybody.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, thank you. For anything else, Craig?
Yeah, I guess ask you, Chris, while you're on, Joey McGuire, Ric Flair. I mean, they were obviously helping hype things up, but Joey McGuire, I can see that energy through the tweets, and we know it well here in Waco. But just your thoughts on what you've seen the first few months on the job for he and the staff that he's put together for the football program.
Yeah, he's been a natural fit up here. He's he was on the mic 20 minutes before the game last night, and he's a natural in that position, with a microphone in his hand and just his ability to recruit and connect. And this was an outside the box hire to many, but it's what this fan base desperately needed. And I think, he's recruiting his tail off and, I'm sure he's looking at all this student section going, I can't wait to get some of this in my football games, because it was, I'm sure that he's thinking, okay, this is going to be fun in the fall. But I've been a big fan of Coach McGuire's, and it's been fun getting to know him so far.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Good luck going forward. That's Chris Level, Texas Tech radio broadcast color analyst, and also a part of the website that covers Texas Tech in many ways. So you have that game tonight, Oklahoma State playing at Kansas State. And then Saturday, hey, you've got Baylor and KU at 3 o'clock in Lawrence, Kansas State at TCU that night. Texas Tech goes on the road to Morgantown. Iowa State, Texas, and Oklahoma State will start the day off at 11 o'clock in Stillwater. Turnaround Monday, you have Kansas and Texas. A week from Saturday, you have Texas at Baylor. And so there is a chunk of games every week, of course, every year, every time there's a game that's rather important in the Big 12. When we come back,